And welcome back to the Hot Lap, ladies and gentlemen. Bring your minds back. Welcome to the 2022 Formula One season and the drama where Ted Kravitz said Mercedes should have won. And Red Bull said, Uno, reverse card. Sky F1, they wanted interviews with Red Bull. And Red Bull said, no talk me, I'm angry. So Christian Horner, as we know, went full on Karen mode. Max Verstappen yeeted Sky Sports straight into that shadow realm. And Ted, well, that poor guy was just out there like, I literally just do vibes and notebook, bro. So buckle up, because this isn't racing. This is Formula One's version of muting someone in the group chat. And this is all being blown up now because of Ted's awesome new book, which we've just reviewed in another video, but get it, it's fantastic. So, I mean, I'll show you. I do like the tweet here. Ted Kravitz being the only legitimate F1 reporter by saying Hamilton's an 8-time champion and was robbed last season. Almost a year later. Yeah. And listen to what he has to say. Do we agree with Ted Kravitz?
You know, seven-time world champion. Almost said 8-time world champion. 7-time world champion goes into final race trying
Talking
to
about
be
2021.
the greatest of all time and win championship. Gets robbed. Comes back, his next year's car is rubbish, or not rubbish, next year's car is, in movie ways, in movie sense, his next year's car is rubbish, doesn't win a race all year, and then finally comes back at a track where he could win the first race all year, is battling with the same guy who won the race that he was robbed in the previous year, and manages to finish ahead of him. What a script and a story that would have been. So,
yeah. But now, what did they get annoyed about it? Well, it was he gets robbed. This play.
You know, 7-time world.
He gets robbed.
Said 8-time world champion.
It wasn't that
7-time
bit.
world champion.
That was funny though.
Goes into final race.
Yep.
Trying to be the greatest of all time and win championship. Gets robbed. Comes back.
There you go. Gets robbed. So you see this little snippet. He gets robbed. Did Hamilton get robbed? Yeah, he did. Marco Massi ended up leaving. It's a fact. No. Anyone that says he should have pitted, no, because he was going to do behind Verstappen. Have a look at that race again. I can understand why it's a bit confusing though. But yeah, he did get robbed. You follow the rules, Hamilton would have been champion. Anyway, moving on from that a bit, because this is one of the stories. Verstappen and Horner explain the Sky boycott over disrespect from one person, particularly. So Verstappen explained why he and Red Bull have stopped giving interviews to Formula One broadcaster Sky. It's going on, if you remember, the Red Bull driver did not speak to Sky after yesterday's qualifying session or today's United States Grand Prix. That's 2022, which ultimately he won. Sky is obviously F1's biggest broadcasters and hold exclusive rights to the sport in several key territories, including the UK. Verstappen said his decision to stop speaking to them was not triggered by their Mexican Grand Prix coverage. He said it's nothing to do with this weekend. He said in today's FIA press conference, but this year it's been a constant kind of digging and being disrespectful, especially one particular person. At one point it's enough. I don't accept it. You can't live in the past, you just have to move on. And he blamed Sky for provoking hostility towards his team. To be fair, yeah, okay, I mean, Sky, understandably, it caters for a British audience initially, Sky F1. It's going to be slightly biased towards the British gear, towards British people. That is their main. Yes, they do cater for other countries. I think Australia, maybe Canada, but that is their main. It's the English language. They're speaking English. England, Britain. So to that extent, I kind of understand just as much as if you watch Dutch commentators. They're going to be biased towards Max, understandably. Italy, biased towards Ferrari, right? Or hating Ferrari potentially. Sorry, hate's such a strong word, but yeah. So anyway. He says that at the moment, social media is a very toxic place. Yes, it is. You have almost extreme sides, particularly, obviously, like with the Norris and the Piastris, like the extremes. The Hamilton haters and the Verstappen lovers, etc. Extremes. And the Verstappen dislikers as well. Extremes. They just go to extremes to the point where it's absolutely like slinging their poo on Twitter. Just avoid the place when it comes to that. Or get popcorn. Verstappen said, you keep disrespecting me, and at one point I'm not tolerating it anymore, so that's why I decided to stop answering. Yes, okay, fair enough. He's allowed to do that, but the issue, I guess, that Red Bull had is, in the Sky, without their coverage, sponsors and etc. are going to get a tiny bit upset. One weekend is good though. I think it's just the sport is more popular, so there are more people watching, there are more people writing. He said, I think it's just that. So I can hope we can come up with some kind of algorithm that stops people from being keyboard warriors. Well, this is the thing. He's annoyed about. I mean, if he's at the time, if he's really annoyed at people's opinions, grow up, because everyone's going to have an opinion. It is. I mean, then it was 2022. It's 2025 now. It happens. Everyone is going to have an opinion. Not everyone's going to like you. It's part, sadly, of being in that spotlight. And he says because these kind of people, they never come up to you and say these things in front of your face. It's just that they're sitting in front of their desk or whatever at home, being upset, frustrated, and they can write whatever they like because the platform allows you to. It's called free speech, Max. That can be really damaging and hurtful to some people. Yes, it can. Red Bull team principal Horner said the team's boycott will not continue beyond this weekend. Oh, you're so kind, Horner. Former Red Bull team boss. He said it was prompted by comments made in Sky's United States Grand Prix was not solely aimed at the British channel. That's interesting, isn't it? But he said we were obviously disappointed with the series of derogatory comments been made on Sky. So we felt this weekend we'd just take a break. But what is all the story behind this? Well, in the end, yeah, they undid it. Verstappen even said the Sky Sports F1 boycott is now over. And that was on November the 11th. And this story initially came out on the 30th of October. Yeah, so the Dutchman, oh, how nice of you. And his Thai Rebel team did not take part in any Sky Media commitments over the Mexican Grand Prix weekend because of the disrespectful reporting. Mexico, let's be fair, not the best hunting ground for Max when you look at 2024. But anyway, I digress. As well as this involving Sky F1's channel, it included the company's regional channels, UK, Germany and Italy. Think massive F1 audience. Probably shouldn't be doing that for too long, Red Bull. And they didn't. Was it down to the money? Who knows? Red Bull's actions were believed to have been triggered by comments made by Ted Kravitz, the comments we just showed you, who suggested after the United States Grand Prix that Hamilton had been robbed, fact, of the crown. Doesn't to say that Verstappen didn't deserve it less. But speaking about the matter in Mexico, Verstappen said this year it's been a constant kind of daily being disrespectful, especially one particular person. That's not enough. Yeah, he said that. And they all made friends. Now, this is the Ted Kravitz interview, which I thought was interesting. This is the one by The Telegraph. In the Ted Kravitz interview, what happened when Red Bull banned me and Sky Sports? So, the pit lane reporter for many decades, we know his passion runs really hot. And if you're a fan on the sofa, you're thinking, hang on, when does racing become like this? And if there's a massive mistake and if someone does have a problem in the pit stop, then they get handed the place back. It's like, what's going on here? Kravitz said. And that's when he's talking about Oscar Piastri. But let's read a bit forward now and try and find the bit where it's all about the Sky. I think it is. Kravitz said. It's interesting. He makes an interesting point, though, before we get to that, about Christian Horner. Kravitz said the intensely competitive former Red Bull team principal, sadly, for him, and I think maybe Red Bull, will they live to regret it? We'll see. Mackey's really good, though, isn't he? Anyway, he treats the media as a game to be won or lost. He said he wanted to win out of every interview, but he wants to win out of everything. When you know you're in a game that almost makes you try and throw that 90-mile-per-hour fastball or hit him with a lob shot or bowl a googly that might elicit something, Kravitz said. Now, Christian also knew lots of people working at Red Bull were on the other side of the camera, and he wanted to be seen as fighting for them as well. And to be fair, that's one thing Christian Horner did very well. He fought for his team. He fought for his drivers. Every time Max made, even it was so obvious mistake, he'd come out with some paperwork, he'd come out with some graph and go, no, it's not. That's love, isn't it? Surely. When Kravitz and Horner collide again, remains to be seen, but the latter was unceremoniously sat by Red Bull. Yeah, he was, okay. Kravitz said that, okay, and here we go. Now, Kravitz said that Lewis Hamilton had been robbed of the 2021 driver's title in his titanic battle with Max Verstappen, but there is a story behind that he's keen to explain. He said, I think I'd expressed a commonly held viewpoint in Formula 1, yes, that Lewis Hamilton had been robbed of an 8th World Championship Abu Dhabi. That was not a rogue view at the time, and it still isn't, Ted. He said, I think the misunderstanding was that elements within Red Bull felt I was saying that they had done something wrong. At no point did Ted Kravitz say Red Bull in that moment had done anything wrong, and Red Bull did not do anything wrong. It's not Red Bull's fault. And he's saying, which of course they did nothing wrong. It was the easy strategic call of the season for them to pit under the safety car. They lost nothing. Free stop. Max drove brilliantly, won the race on fresh tyres, deserved the championship. I didn't understand where it had come from because at no point did I say that it was anything that Red Bull had done. And now he talks about the context. He said the context is that segment where he made these comments from Ted's notebook, from the following season, riffing on the presence of Brad Pitt in the Austin paddock, talking about an F1 movie. Kravitz summarised the story was straight out of Hollywood. And obviously we've seen that. And he said because it was clipped like that on social media, they saw it. They thought I was saying, at no point does he say Max robbed them. So whoever saw it needs to watch it again. Or, I don't know. I've no idea. They thought I was saying Max had robbed him of the championship. At no point. There's nothing even in that segment. Unless they clearly edited it out, which would have been obvious. Or used AI, which wasn't that good at the time, even in 2022. So that's a load of, I'm not saying that's a load of rubbish. I'm not saying Ted Kravitz is lying, but oh dear Red Bull. I mean, if that's the case, then you need to hire some new people. Well, they did. They thought I was saying Max had robbed him of the championship, which of course he hadn't. But the way these things are clipped, they hadn't seen the original notebook or the context. And after the boycott, Kravitz, along with Sky, met with Verstappen, his father, and the wider team in Brazil to explain. Max referred to this stuff on social media and say, hey, look, I don't care. Well, obviously you do, Max. Anyone that says, I don't care, does care. People say terrible things about me all the time. Sadly, yes, it's the internet. I'm doing my job and you're doing your job. It's not us that care, it's the people around me that care. So then if you say, people misinterpret that, you say you think I stole the championship of Lewis. Even if you didn't say that, people think that's what you... No, that's not his fault, is it? Just look at the thing. Oh, Max, throwing your toys out the pram. Come on, you're better than that. He said, your voice in Formula 1, and then my mum on social media gets abused from my sister or Kelly, my partner. It's them I'm looking to protect. That is true. But from that point of view, that's not Ted's fault at all. And the people doing that, giving the abuse, are really, really sad. I said, Max, I absolutely get it, and it's horrible and I'm regretful and I'm sorry that it gets to these points, but these things get clipped up, it all gets blown out of proportion, and then we get to this point, so then we understand each other. There we go. Completely, Kravitz said. Yeah, and he's sorry. It's kind of like I'm sorry for what happened, but I'm not sorry for what I said, because it was the truth. He was robbed. It wasn't really Verstappen that robbed him, but Hamilton was robbed. So there we go. Anyway, I just thought that was a really interesting bit in relation to Ted's book, and there's so much more awesome stuff there. If you made it to the end, absolutely fantastic. We're mostly not worthy. Thank you so much for your time. But until then, we will speak to you soon, and stay safe. I hit the subscribe button I was meant to hit. Hey, Pete. See ya.